I feel like every decision is a financial decision. I've spent millions of dollars on ads, and we've generated, I think, just over like 130,000 phone calls, right? So when you're spending that kind of money, obviously you're trying to make a return. And what we found was about 70-80% of all the traffic we were generating was just not qualified to work with us.
So this is kind of like a time prevention thing. And I find a lot of salespeople that are average, some of it is just because they just waste time with people who cannot buy.
All we do with AI is we help people make better, faster, smarter decisions, and we cut the uncertainty out of their system. But honestly, 30-40% of your revenue should come from non-qualified people. You just need to know how to sell them the right way.
Maybe it's not the leads, maybe it's your skill level needs to get much better. So how did you identify this gap in the market to like come up with this concept?
Through personal trauma.
All right, Jeremy Miner, welcome to another episode of the Next Level Podcast. I've got a gentleman here today. Look, you're in sales, you want better leads, you want to learn how to qualify your leads, you want to pay attention to what I'm about to throw down. So this guy is a traffic and sales specialist for the last 10 years. He's mastered online traffic, known as a master in online traffic and high-ticket sales, and his coaching and consulting business has already done well over $70 million. He's also the founder and CEO of a SaaS platform called LeadFi.ai. We're going to focus a lot on that and how that might be able to help you today get better qualified leads. And we're going to talk about how do we get those leads to you in real time. So using your name, email, and phone only, LeadFi provides complete credit and financial information, allowing you to know if the prospect you're talking to can actually qualify for what you actually have. Can you imagine that? You don't even need a social to do that. That is crazy. LeadFi, disrupting the online marketing space. We're probably interested in that and giving businesses, obviously, a competitive advantage. Mr. James Douglas, how are you, man?
I'm great, Jeremy.
San Diego.
That's right.
Stay classy, Sandy. You're Ron Burgundy.
All the time.
I love that, man. Okay, so walk us through here. Everybody that's watching here, salespeople, business owners, coaches, consultants, all industries. They're probably like, how can we talk to more qualified people? How do we do that without their social? So just break down, what is LeadFi?
Hey guys, Jeremy Miner here. Look, a lot of you leave comments wanting me to help you sell more. So the easiest way to get a hold of me, the quickest way, is to text me. So text me right now. It's 480-637-2944. So 480-637-2944. Listen, I started this company to help you learn how to close more deals, but do it the right way. Text me right now. Let's get back to the training video.
Yeah, so LeadFi is a software product that I started developing just over a year ago. It really stemmed because, I come from the traffic space. I spent millions of dollars on ads. And we've generated, I think, just over like 130,000 phone calls, right? So when you're spending that kind of money, obviously you're trying to make a return. And what we found was about 70-80% of all the traffic we were generating was just not qualified to work with us. And I sold packages up to $50,000. So, not cheap.
So they needed like lending to be able to get into that stuff, but they couldn't qualify.
Exactly. Okay. So, we relied on things like applications, right? You would have your lead fill out an application. You might ask about their finances, their income. What do you do for work, right? What's your credit look like, right? You might even get that evasive. Sure. Or you might even have a setter call the leads and say, hey, what's your money look like? Maybe not as
too much of what's the scripture? Give them the milk before the meat. That's kind of a meaty question.
It is.
Front.
It is. And you might have roundabout ways of doing it, but we did all that stuff, and we just found that people about half of the time just aren't completely honest, with their finances. People with money don't want you to know they have it. People without it want you to think they do have it. And honestly, it's a little off-putting. When I see something online, if they're asking about my money, I'm a little bit more like...
A little bit hesitant. Yeah, especially if you're wealthy, you're pretty much hesitant. It's like a financial advisor calling you like, the first question, they're like, where do you put in your money? Like the very first question. Now that's a question you're going to need to find out, but you got to ask them easier to answer questions that aren't so meaty up front before you get into the more personal questions for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that whole journey, just took me to a place where we developed technology to where right when somebody gives you their name, email, phone number from the lead opt-in, which we all get if you're generating any traffic online, whether organic or paid, we have the only identity verification technology that basically identifies real-time who this individual is based off just their name, email, phone, and then we go right to the credit bureau.
How did you get the only technology to do that?
We have a team of
Okay.
PhDs that develop it. So
Smart guys.
really smart guys. And I do have a Wizard of Oz, a partner on the back end
Okay.
that built the technology, and I came in with the fulfillment and the strategy
Yeah.
to put to market, especially in the coaching and marketing space as well.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is this something that can work in any space? Because we're going to have people watching this, listening to this, that sells anything you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it works for anyone that generates leads, and they want to know who is financially capable to work with them or not before speaking with them.
Interesting.
I mean, getting information is one thing, right? It's sexy. Hey, you're going to get like all their credit information, their finances, even their assets and net worth. That's all good. A sales team could look at that data before they take the call and say, oh, this person can work with me.
Yeah.
So this, so they can strategically
We're
navigate.
going to prioritize that person over somebody else. Not to say that you don't call other leads, because my only concern with that, if I gave that to my salespeople, is they're only going to call like 750 plus. What about all the other people that might have lower credit scores, but they might be able to get funding from other ways, or have 401k, or be able to put on a payment plan? So, but that's really good. You prioritize the highest quality leads first.
Certainly. And I love that you said that, because what we've been able to develop is something called lead priority routing. So right when the lead enters the funnel, okay, the name, email, phone comes up to us at LeadFi. We enrich it with that data, and then we send it right back to your CRM. So now you have per contact record all of this data. The lead that just opted in is still hanging on inside your funnel.
Yeah.
Watching your ESL.
Yeah.
In your webinar wait room, they might have just bought a low ticket product.
Okay.
So what we do is in real time, we put a button on the very next page that will lead to a multiple different options. It could go to a book a call. It could go to a low ticket product.
Okay.
The point is you can actually keep only truly financially qualified people on your calendars.
Okay.
And then push in real time anyone that may not be qualified for a high ticket down like a low ticket journey.
So you can customize that based on what you sell and all that stuff. You have a team that kind of works with that company to customize it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, we integrate everything. And every offer is different. Every funnel is different. Some people do have low tickets, some people don't.
Okay.
But honestly, if you're running high ticket online, 30-40% of your revenue should come from non-qualified people. You just need to know how to sell them the right way.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have communication skills. So how did you identify this gap in the market to like come up with this concept?
It was through personal trauma, to be honest.
Tell us the trauma, man.
Oh, man. So, I mean, you kind of threw some of my numbers out there. I mean, across my companies and everything, we've done over 9 figures in revenue.
Yeah.
So I've spent over 30 million on ads, right? So I've had months.
You got some experience, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been in the trenches. We built high ticket sales processes, and this is all for my offer, my coaching consulting company. Well, first I started by doing lead gen, got really good at doing lead generation, made a bunch of money. It's what got me out the military, which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But
Navy guy, right?
Yeah, I was in the Navy for 10 years.
Is that why you're from San Diego? Like San Diego?
Yeah, they dropped me off here. Actually, I was in Italy before they dropped me off. And
Hold on, what part, man?
I lived in Naples for 2 years.
Oh, Naples. Okay. Yeah. Everybody gives Naples like the bad rub, like, oh, Naples, like the ghetto and stuff. But there's areas of Naples that are really, really nice.
There are by the beach in Lago Patria is where I lived. I had a 3-bedroom house right on the water. And it's like literally a quarter of what I pay for rent here in San Diego. Mind you, that was 11 years ago, 12 or 13 years ago.
Sure.
But yeah, it's completely beautiful there.
Yeah.
Now the downtown, the it's beautiful though. Cobblestones Road.
Yeah.
It's very historic, and Italy just has a way about maintaining its, historical, cultural, everything as it was, like,
I love that about
centuries ago.
Europe. You walk there, and you'll like walk through like in town. There'll be like this little castle, and they're like, in 1205, this is where they, killed like all these women because they thought they were witches or something crazy.
Yeah.
And then you walk out of there, and they're like, over here in this building, this is where the Germans invaded in 1941. There's like bullet holes still there. Then you walk around like a block, and there's like a Subway. Or like McDonald's, a Subway sandwich shop, and you're like, what? The history like here is insane, man.
Yeah.
It's so different than America.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get out of the military, you're identifying this gap, you've spent a lot of money on ads, leads, all that kind of stuff, and you're like, hey, there's a gap here.
Yeah. I mean, the whole journey of scaling that coaching company is where it did. I was teaching people how to do lead gen. I basically had to run ads online.
Okay.
Actually, it's funny. I was just with your president, Sean, and he's like, you taught my brother how to do ads in 2019. Then he taught me, and now I'm here.
Like, oh my God.
Full circle. Cool to hear the story. But I was teaching people how to, run ads. And I was probably one of the first guys that was doing it at a high level on YouTube back in like 2017. So I was doing like Jordan Belfort and Spec Smith and a bunch of these guys you might know.
Sure.
But so the coaching consulting company, I mean, we were spending $1 million a month on ads at one point. And there was months where we had a 3x ROAS and everything was great. We're like, hey, where we're going to dinner? We're vacation, blah, blah, blah. And then next month,
We're going to dinner. We can eat.
Yeah, right. And because all your money at that level, you want to, and I was in the point of like, how do we invest back into the system and make it better? What talent do we need? As soon as somebody's like, hey, we got this invoice, this guy's going to do X, Y, Z. I'm like, tell me where to sign. No questions asked. I was just really all about growth and efficiency. But that was part of the problem too. You have to have discernment in all your decisions, right?
You do, because you can definitely there's a lot of people out there that are willing to take your money. Very few that I've noticed that can actually do the things they say they can do.
Exactly.
Yeah, at a high level. Yeah, like average, like amateurs. They work for somebody for a year and then got halfway decent, and then they start their own thing and have no idea how to fulfill, and could be trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So you identify this gap. How can they apply this for their business? Let's say they're maybe a real estate agent, or that's a good example. Let's start there.
Yeah. Real estate. I mean, you're selling homes, right? Yep. People are opting into your website. Hey, I'm interested in buying a home. Yeah. So we're getting into the mortgage space. So I have some case study data around this, but right when they come into your ecosystem, put in their name, email, phone, we could actually pull a pre-qual based off their assets, all their net worth, their credit, everything.
That way you're maybe not wasting your time showing 37 houses to somebody that can't get approved for any type of mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then what you could do is, like, a lot of real estate agents have the open house. Hey, come to, 123 Avenue Way, and this beautiful 3-bedroom home just came in the market, right? You get the hors d'oeuvres, you'll have the maybe chef come out, you'll have a DJ, all the things, right? Right when people register for the event, just get their name, email, phone. Boom. Have them check in. When they get there, check in on the iPad. And then right when they check in, you could actually see who's financially capable to work to buy this home.
And I find, real estate's our second largest industry we train. So it's, could be commercial, residential, could be investors like, Pace Morby that has salespeople that, call these distressed properties. But that's a big thing that you see a lot of real estate agents do, is they just, anybody that, calls in, they just start showing houses and then later try to find out if they're financially qualified. I'm like, what do you do? You're just wasting time.
Exactly.
And I find a lot of salespeople that are average, some of it is just because they just waste time with people who cannot buy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So this is kind of like a time prevention thing.
Certainly.
In a sense, depending on the industry, depending on what you sell, especially if it's a home. If you find out they do maybe have some assets where they put down 30% or something, and that might change the ball game if their credit's okay, but it kind of gives you more options.
Yeah.
What about other industries? How could a company maybe use this? Could a company use this?
Any company?
Like if they were selling to other companies.
That's good.
Like in the B2B space.
B2B, yeah.
You're talking more small businesses now. You're not really talking about mid-market or enterprise, because they're obviously going to have the cash or the credit to do that.
Yeah, I like to say
small mom and pop.
Yeah, any service-based business that sells any kind of products or services, right? Mm-hmm. B2C, where there's a cash transaction of, I would say, maybe 100,000 or less. It works best, but you can get the pre-approvals for like mortgage. What we also did, so just about a month ago, we were able to get assets. So assets and household income are really great, and it goes into our algorithm with the credit for like I said, pre-approvals for mortgage, but also if you're raising capital. So we're also working with fund syndicators, people raising capital to figure out, hey, if someone's 506C or 506B a creditor or not, right?
Yeah.
So that's another great
that makes
use case.
Yeah, because you might have a consumer that has like an 800 credit score, but they have hardly any income, they have hardly any assets, and that kind of goes hand in hand with them getting approved for certain things.
Right.
I love that. Let's talk about AI. How are you using AI, like just in your own business?
Yeah. So right now, in our own coaching company,
I saw some reel about you talking about it. Maybe it was a YouTube video talking about it. 25% of your team, you could just basically bring in AI.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that, I know which one, I think I was on Brad Lee's podcast, but basically, so I'm a part owner in an AI company, and what we do is we AI enable other companies. So we might take your, old school, hey, call the list, no CRM technology. We come in and integrate everything into and put in automation. But what we do is we actually build AI. We take their data set and we give it to our team of 20 PhDs, and we say, hey, take this data and create more efficiency for them and target their market better. So what we do, for example, we took a search traffic arbitrage company, right? So search traffic arbitrage is basically like, hey, you're buying traffic from Google, right? But we come in and buy the click before you do from Google at a cheaper rate and then sell it back to you at a even cheaper rate. Okay. So we're making a penny or two every single click at the millions a day, right? So that's basically the business model. So we had a company that had 200 employees that was like literally doing that real time. And we just built AI to replace what their whole team was doing. We took their staff from 200 employees to 20 employees.
Oh, yeah. So the profit margins are a little bit higher there.
Margin went from 25% to 70%. Revenue went from 40 million to 200 million. So now they're positioning for a 10-figure exit.
Okay.
So,
and what space was that in?
Search traffic arbitrage. So like, I think media buying, things of that nature. Okay. So, but that's just like a small example. What we found too, AI, and I like to focus on like the big picture stuff. There's obviously, we can talk about ChatGPT and, generative AI, copy. All those things are great. We even have an AI that talks just like me. You can call a number and it answers questions and you can engage with it, book calls. That's great. That technology is readily available. But from a trading perspective, right? Most investors traditionally will put, $1 million, whatever, into the S&P. They're happy with their 3 to 5% a year. No big deal. What we did was we took commodity futures, right? And with commodity futures, we trade 33 assets. It's like your gold, oil, soybean, all the stuff that's like never going to go away.
Yeah.
And we created AI. I wouldn't say AI. We created thousands of AI that trades the 33 assets, and they all talk to each other. And what they're trying to do is trying to take your money and put it in the very next best trade, get the profits, and put it into the next trade. So in order for you to do this for yourself, from take money from one trade to put in another, you would have to do it manually, right? So we invented the only patent in AI. It's called real-time curve hopping, where it takes money from one investment, puts it into another. And you can put, let's say, $1 million a year and conservatively get 30% a year on your money with only a 0.5% drawdown. Now, there's these AI trading algorithms that we hear about that's, hey, we're getting 100% a month. Like, what are you talking about, 30% a year? Yeah, but your drawdown, your risk is probably up to...
Yeah, anytime I hear something like that like, it's like the next greatest, cryptocurrency, like that has that type of high... increase could always like crash equally just like that, it's scary stuff, especially if you're putting maybe you take 5% of your money and put it in something that risky. But if you're putting like half of your funds or like 100% of your funds into that, you are taking a huge risk.
Yeah. And that's what we solve for, because investors want certainty, right? Yeah. Certainty. We all want a closed loop. If there's space in an open loop, we're very uncomfortable with that.
Because it's the compound interest. If you're in something and you're averaging 10 to 12% a year compounded for 20 or 30 years with very little risk, way you want to be in that compared to like something that could be 100% returns per year, but the next year you might lose 200%.
Exactly.
Yeah, crash. I like that.
So all we do with AI is we help people make better, faster, smarter decisions, and we cut the uncertainty out of their system and just create more certainty. That's it in all of their data.
What are your thoughts about AI replacing salespeople?
I think we're close. I think that it is getting to the point where you can, obviously, appointment setting and booking, that's one thing. You don't necessarily need a human to do that. Is full AI going to take over sales conversations? I think that the technology could get there, but there's still a human side that we all have. I don't know if AI can really understand things like love, and those emotions, empathy.
Well, yeah, because it's like there's different, your tone is how the prospect interprets your intention behind everything you say and ask. Because, as AI grows, there's going to be there's a thing called the FTC, and regulation. Because, let's say grandma takes a call from AI and, she buys this $15,000 thing over the phone. And then, a week later, her son finds out about it. My mom got scammed, calls the attorney general, bam, regulation. And eventually it's going to be where when you get a phone call, it's going to say, hey, would you like to talk with AI or would you like to talk to a live representative? And who do you think people are going to probably pick?
Yeah.
Probably the live representative because they feel like AI might manipulate them.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of regulation that a lot of people don't think about in AI.
Yeah.
It definitely will happen for sure. And I believe people will actually want to talk to a live human being at that point. I'm in the opinion that AI won't take jobs away. It'll actually create many, many industries that we don't even have yet that will actually generate more jobs.
Yeah.
Just like everybody thought the internet was going to take all these jobs away. And all it did was create more industries that we didn't have at that point. I believe AI is going to do that.
Yeah.
Just my personal thoughts.
I agree. And it's going to, if any jobs it's going to take, it's just going to take another human that's using AI.
Yeah.
Efficiently.
I agree.
That's really so if you're not using AI in your day-to-day job, your 9 to 5, definitely your business, you will go out of business by somebody using it because it can get things done 1,000 times faster than the human.
Exactly.
Right? So if you know how to program, and AI is really just as good as a driver, right? You can have a Ferrari, you have a Toyota. You can't put the Toyota driver in front of in the Ferrari because he might wreck it.
Yeah.
So as long as you have a good driver for AI, you can get the results as intended. You could have the worst person using AI and get crappy results.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So
I totally agree. Okay, so going from the military, how did you transition into like starting your own thing? We've got a lot of salespeople here that, maybe they want the mindset to, crush sales. Maybe they want the mindset of, 5-10 years down the road, start your own thing. So how did you make that transition?
Yeah, it was quite the situation, right? I was in the Navy for 10 years. I thought I was going to be in the Navy for 30 years.
What did you do in the military, like in the Navy?
I was a corpsman.
Okay.
So
what did the corpsmen do?
They're medical. So really the corpsmen are to support the Marines when they go to war. So if they get shot, wounded, like we're the guys there to pick them up.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that, element to it, but there's also, in the hospital or in the, the clinical scene is when you go see the doctor, you get your blood drawn, all those things. Like there's corpsmen there working in the back end.
Okay.
I started as a corpsman, but then I specialized as a laboratory technician. So I was the guy when you went to give your blood or kind of, bodily fluids. I'm the guy running the tests and telling the doctor what's wrong with you, basically, or what the report is on your work.
Okay.
So, I did that for 10 years and, I was on the fast track to be, I could have been possibly an admiral, because by my 5th year, I was already E6. Okay. And it takes the average person, 12 years to make that rank. I could be in charge of hundreds of people, right? And I was basically faced with, hey, am I going to go become an officer and stay in for 30 years, basically? Or am I going to pursue something else, And what was a really big turning point for me is my 5th year in, I got to San Diego. We're in Phoenix. And I went on the deployment. And the deployment was a humanitarian mission. And what we did was we traveled to Papua New Guinea, Fiji, the Philippines. We even went to Vietnam. And the whole point of that trip was to render medical aid to all these, third world parts of the country on the Pacific. And so I did some of my best work there, man. We built schools for kids. I remember we built in the Philippines like this multiple building structures. We built a basketball court, soccer field, and I was with the CB battalion. So the CBs are the construction,
okay,
right? And I just remember on the last day of us putting that all together, it took about a week to build all these structures. And on the last week, they had a ceremony for us. So we're walking there onto the site from the ship with boxes of, crayons, books and stuff for the kids. And we come up the hill. You can't see. We had to walk up the stairs to get up there, right? So we get up the stairs and I get to the top and you just see hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
It was so amazing to see them. And as soon as they saw us, they just ran to us.
Wow.
Grabbed our legs saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was I get goosebumps thinking about it, man. And I get emotional sometimes because it reminded me like we're all here to pass the baton, and have kids. And I truly feel like that's our legacy. What's the story that your kids are going to tell you when you're gone? Not our money, cars, and all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I have 2 daughters. So I think it was in that moment I had so much gratitude for my time in service, and I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to have my time back. I was just like, man, I want to be able to come and go on my own terms and do cool stuff like this for kids, and not be tied to a job. Even though I love the military, I got to see and do amazing things.
Yeah. You'd be gone a lot for sure.
Yeah. So I get back from the deployment, and my girlfriend, who was my wife at the time, who is my wife now, was waiting for me, and that was actually a test for us, actually, because, before I left for the military, it was a little shaky, but we both said, let's wait for each other. You're going to be gone 9 months. If we're still here for each other when you get back, it's the real deal.
I like that.
So we got back. It was the real deal. And it was actually in that moment, I was like, this is my woman. I want to have more impact. I want my time back. So I literally just started looking up how to replace my job. I was like Googling stuff like that, like how to make money, all these things that people do, right?
People do, you're doing.
Yeah, I did it. And I landed on SEO and online marketing. So SEO was like the first thing that I got into.
When was this, like 2014?
2014.
Okay.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah. And I started to rank websites. I made like $40,000 a month in 3 months, replaced my annual salary.
Yeah.
And then, dude, my website, my business disappeared overnight because Google released an algorithm update. And so the way I was taught from this guy on YouTube or wherever, he was teaching like black hat strategy, which back then it was like almost the Wild Wild West, right?
And they started to crack down.
And then they started to crack down. I lost everything, dude. All my clients were on page 1, went to page 2, 3, or disappeared. Overnight.
So what'd you do? How did you take that trial? Because that would pretty much put everybody under. What did you do with it?
I had about 22 clients paying me somewhere between $500 a month to $2,000 a month.
Yeah,
something like that. And there was like 5 of them that was like, "Can you figure it out?" And the other ones were like, "Just F you. We've been screwed over by people before."
I see.
They were like, "We know the game." I'm like, "You don't understand." I'm like, "We don't want to hear it." Basically.
Yeah.
So the 5, I was like, hey, let me run Facebook ads. It was new, poppin', dude. I've been running Facebook ads since clicks were cool.
Yeah.
Clicks are not cool anymore. All right. I started running Facebook ads and Google search ads too. And I sucked at it, like anything, when you cook your first recipe or you get in your first relationship or get married, have kids, you suck at it. So I end up having one client that stuck with me and I figured it out.
How did you commit to mastery? Because it's one thing, I always say there's 4 types of salespeople, really 4 types of any type of people. You have those who wing it. I call those the wingers. They typically never work out magically. You have those who kind of dabble in something. They're the dabblers.
Yeah.
Or usually the average people at whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then you have those who are the know-it-allers. They typically invest in some type of mentoring or coaching. They get good, then they stop investing in their skill level. Income gets capped. And then you have those who are committed to mastery. That's your top 1% or higher that master the thing. How did you master the thing?
My answer to this may not be like what you're looking for.
I'm looking for just how you...
Oh, well, I'll tell you because I get asked that and they're like, give me the secret. What's the magic pill button, right? Growing up, there was times I didn't know if I was going to eat. There was times where I didn't know if my dad was going to kick down my door and beat me.
Okay.
Very, very tough upbringing. So, my parents filed for bankruptcy back in 2014.
Where'd you grow up at?
Grew up in New Orleans.
Okay. Yeah.
Louisiana.
In the city, on a farm?
Covington, Louisiana. It's like 30 miles north of New Orleans, but we were in New Orleans all the time. So a little bit smaller. It's big now. You go there and it's like almost metropolitan. Okay. But I say that because, I had to endure a lot of things kids shouldn't see as, being a kid. And we all have traumas and things that we've gone through in our childhood. So when I made that pivotal moment of I want to live for my time and have a family and not, be tied into a system and have kids. And then those kids, and by the way, and my wife, I never want to treat them or have them see it or endure what I had to when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the number one driving factor because I had made a decision. I committed that I was going to get out the military, and I don't know exactly what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. I just knew I was going to do it.
There's your chip on your shoulder. I think Tony Robbins says it best. You ever heard him say, like, life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you.
Right.
Because it had not happened, had that not happened to you, you wouldn't have the same mindset. You wouldn't have the same drive that you actually have. So without that happening, you might not be who you are today.
Exactly.
More than likely you wouldn't.
That's true.
Yeah. It's amazing if you really think about it. Because a lot of people are like, oh, my life was horrible. And, victim, that it's kind of like Oprah, raped as a child, like grew up poor, grew up like had everything totally against her.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, what did she do with it? It's how she reacted to those things, and what she did with it got her to where she's at. Rather than, hey, this happened to me, it's like, this happened for me, and this made me who I am.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy.
That's true.
Not that any of those things are justifiable, like physical abuse or anything. Obviously, that's not justifiable.
Yeah.
It just depends on, people are going to go through that depending on who raises them. It's just like, what do you do with it? How do you change that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Certainly. I would say that, and just having like a passion, if you can wake up every day, do something that you love, that you're excited to do, right? For me, I love doing what I do. I build things. I help people make more money. I help them keep their doors open more locations.
Yeah.
So it's a really good good business, and it's good for the economy. We're entrepreneurs, we're business, we provide jobs. At one point in my organization, I had over 100 employees.
Yeah.
And it's not 100 employees, it's 100 families.
Yeah, and it's the lives that it's not just the lives of the employees that you change, it's the lives of your prospects that you change, because not only are you changing their business, but you're probably changing their trajectory of the way their kids are raised and their kids' mindsets, and when those kids have kids, and it's just like it's like a butterfly effect. Yeah, if that makes sense. We don't really think about it. Yeah. Okay, so some frameworks. What are some frameworks that you use in business to help you in your mindset to stay so driven? I think that would really help a lot of these guys and gals watching. Like, how do you stay so driven?
Yeah. I work with a mentor for the last 5 years now. His name's Dr. Jeff Spencer. So he was like a gold Olympian. He trained 40 goals. He worked with Tiger Woods, Lance Armstrong, Jim Quick, a lot of people that you might have heard before.
Yeah.
He's taught me a lot. And, I think some of the biggest, and I always give him credit because I give credit where credit's due, and this whole self-made, thing, hey, I did it without anyone. It's like, no, you learned from, there's someone somewhere spoke wisdom to you or showed you a way. Even in the military, I had, good leaders and good mentors, right? And the military in general instills discipline and integrity and treating others, with respect, so those are, things that I got to take and carry outside the military. But one of the things that for me that worked really good is looking at everything like a video game, which is an interesting thing to bring up, right? But 'cause when I was a kid, I could play the hardest video game at the most insane difficulty.
Okay, tell us, what was your video game?
Halo.
Did you dominate?
Halo. 2001, dominated Halo.
Yeah.
Played on the insane difficulty, beat the whole game. I was ranked number 2 in Madden in the world in 2005.
Number 2 in Madden?
Number 2 in Madden.
Oh my God. Who was your team that you played on Madden? Who was your team you always picked?
Oh, the New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans Saints? Like what, they had Drew Brees or what?
They didn't even have Drew Brees back then. I think it was Aaron Brooks.
What?
Yeah.
So how were you so good with Aaron Brooks?
I just knew how to play.
You knew how to, you knew the system. You knew how to,
I knew the
patterns.
I game-assigned it,
Yeah, okay.
And I played, what's funny is I played the number 1 guy 3 times and I beat him all 3 times. The only reason why he was number 1 is because his win-to-loss ratio was a little bit better than mine.
Oh my gosh.
But I was a better player.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was and almost like an engineer. I would also take apart computers, build computers, pick apart all my toys, put them back together.
Yeah.
Right. And I took that same concept of gamification into the military, and I was like, the reason why I was successful in the military because I understood how the system worked. Right. So every system is designed to get a certain result.
You're really good at recognizing patterns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every system's designed to get a certain result. You can't change the system, but you can change the inputs you put into that. Right. So your behavior, how you're showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like my first realization. So if I was going to be successful in the military, I realized at an early age in my career, I needed to help other people accelerate their careers, because that's what the military and mentorship is all about.
Yeah.
Bringing up other sailors with you as you're doing amazing, cool things. You get the award and the rank, but all of them do too.
That's the leadership.
Yeah. So I just took that into my sales organization and took that into my companies, and I did the same exact thing. Right. So along the way, I really start to understand like human behavior at a more deeper level. And I actually am inspired by a lot of your work as well and what you've done. And my belief system is, in order to, make a deal happen or close a sale, you have to understand that people are coming in with uncertainty, right? They're looking to close this space, and they have a space there, and they're looking to fill it with something that is going to serve them, but they may not know what will or will not serve them. So, and that's our responsibility in sales.
The salesperson's responsibility to cause them to have 100% certainty, which prevents most objections from happening. What's the number one thing that causes an objection? Uncertainty. Who controls whether they have certainty or not? You do, the salesperson. You're not the other way around. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I really focus on bridging that gap, because what happens is, let's say you're trying to close a loop, right? And you might go to Google. The first thing you Google, boom, that's the truth. But that's the worst thing to do, because what if the article was fabricated by the mainstream media, or if that article was fabricated by
That's a different opinion.
an affiliate marketer that's writing a bad review on someone, but wasn't a real customer, but trying to sell their own product at the bottom of the blog.
Oh, I love that. They're like,
right?
Yeah, I'm giving reviews. This sucks. But by the way, I found this. And then you find out they're an affiliate for that. You're like, oh, okay.
Exactly. So, so the concept of just, bridging the gap, closing uncertainty. And what I realized too is humans alone, we're designed for breathing, eating, sleeping. That's like all we care about, survival, right? So we can actually, survive with just the brain and the spinal cord. Our arms and legs are a luxury. Would life be hard? Sure. I have friends that went to Iraq and got blown up. It's unfortunate to see. There's people probably watching at home, but they learn to stay in the game and overcome those things, right? So if there's anything that you want to do and achieve, you have to develop like a champion's mindset, because all your goals, dreams, and aspirations, your human side is not going to care about. But this whole other champion's mind, you can actually become like a repeat winner with a human mind. You could be a one-act winner. Like, how many people do we know won the lottery, or came across fortune, and then you hear from them a year or two later and they're like in jail or dead or lost all the money?
Yeah.
We hear about it all the time. I know
it's a constant commitment to mastery. It reminds me of like sports, like a Steph Curry or Tom Brady or something before he retired. It's like, he wins a Super Bowl, but the next year he doesn't like just, throw 30 interceptions and 10 touchdowns, because he's still committed to mastery. He's still improving on a daily basis. He's committed to mastery. It's like Steph Curry. How does he shoot like 94% or whatever he does from the free throw line? That's not because he got really, really good at free throws 9 years ago and he just stopped. It's because he practices his technique every single day to improve on that. He's committed to mastery. And when you're constantly committed to mastery, it's really hard to fail. When you're not really committed to mastery, you can go backwards for sure.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, a lot of frameworks. There's actually one of my favorite frameworks is how I approach every decision in business.
How do you do that?
So I feel like every decision is a financial decision. It's either going to make money or lose money.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day,
there's no in between. Yeah, there's no in between. Even if you break even, you still lost money because you lost the opportunity cost.
Yeah. So I use a 4-lens framework, and I need to mark off 3 of these things if I'm going to say yes to it. If I can't mark off 3 things,
I love that.
So here's the 4 things. It's either got to save me time. Okay. It's got to save me money. It's got to make me money. Or there's a force of function. So force of function, save time, save money, or make money. Okay. So if I can mark off 3 of those things, it's good. So let's say the force of function for me kind of is a big deal, because that means I have to do something. I personally have to do something. Okay. And I don't like doing stuff, So if I can pay someone else to do that, that's great. So
more leverage.
So for me, that's the most ideal scenario. If I can do nothing, but it's going to generate revenue, save money and save time, then that's a big yes.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah.
Now, if something, the other side of that's like a force of function. Okay, I have to do something. Okay, what do I have to do something? Okay, no big deal. Well, let's look at the other one. So, is it going to save me time? It's going to save me time. Okay. Is it going to generate revenue? No, it's not. Okay, but is it going to save money? Okay, so we're going to break even. It's not going to generate revenue. To me, I would consider a yes. Right? So it has to be at least one of those three things.
Well, it could save you time because, it depends on what it is. But let's say if it's, we train one company we train has like a doctor, they have to manually dictate their notes. But now there's AI that does it automatically for them. 99.99% accuracy, right? Why is dictating notes so important? Because you don't want to put in the wrong medication. The patient could die, you could get sued, or the insurance companies might not pay you, right? You go out of business. So a doctor on average spends 90 minutes to 2 hours a day manually having to dictate notes. So if you have AI do that for you, that saves you 2 hours a day. What can you do with those 2 hours a day? You can see 2 more hours of patients, so you have more billable hours. You could maybe have more time with your family. So there's that opportunity. Even though it's saving you time, not really generating you money, it's saving you time where you can actually generate more money because it saves you time. So it really depends on it. Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah,
I'll share another one real quick. Is I've consulted a lot of people we've worked with over 15,000 people, and a lot of times they have a hard time understanding where their place is in their business, right? All the hats. You got marketing, advertising, you got sales, you got technology, all the things. Yeah. So there's and it's all about, you have to measure measure risk. How much risk are you willing to take on? And where do you fit in this model? It's kind of like a barbell strategy. So it's called a bimodal risk strategy, where it looks like a barbell, like a dumbbell. You work out at the gym, and on the left side, and you could use this for multiple things. On the left side, you have like the unknown, right? And on the right side, you have the known.
Yeah.
And then the handle is kind of like the process of taking the unknown into the known, right? You see that in medicine, and then all the upside is in the unknown space, right? So if we want to start a new business or create a new technology or AI to create more efficiency, we have to go into this exploration mode, but then we have to convert it into this exploitation, right? So my whole focus in anything that I do is I'm constantly exploring the unknown. And then I have a system in which I put my crazy ass ideas into, where I have a team. Okay, and they make up of PhDs, they make up of marketing professionals, salespeople. I put them into the system, and then they take that and try to make it a sustainable, predictable model where we know what the result's going to be.
Okay, so you plug in a strategy, and they're going to basically give you the risk, the reward, all this type of stuff.
That's right.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, so last couple questions here. You've been ranked in the Inc. 5000 3 years in a row. How do you keep pushing your company to grow at that pace year after year after year?
Things like LeadFi.
Okay. Yeah.
Because honestly, before that, I was dealing with marketing teams saying leads were great, sales teams saying leads are broke. Yes, we're making money, but it's just like this constant,
Salespeople always say that because, like I said, that would be like what a winger or a dabbler would say, because if they don't make a lot of sales, just the way our psyche is, who do we typically blame for that? Somebody else. And so we're always going to blame the leads things. We don't look at our skill level, right? So it's just instilling that identity into the salespeople that maybe it's not the leads, maybe it's your skill level needs to get much better. Yeah.
It's the looking into a mirror instead of looking through a window.
Yes, it's like, what are you saying? What are you not asking that's triggering them to run the other way, even though they kind of raised their hand saying help because they responded to some type of ad. So obviously they know they have some type of problem. Otherwise they wouldn't respond to the ad.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you doing on your end that's triggering them to run the other way? That's good.
Yeah.
So how do you keep this bad boy going? Because you got these other companies, you got these things you're sticking in, but how do you inspire your team to want to perform at the highest level?
Yeah, I think it starts with, I always bring my team back to the reason why we got into this. And anyone in my company or on my team, they're always bought into my initial story as to why I started doing. Because if you don't have enough conviction as to why you're doing a thing, when shit gets tough and shit hits the fan, you're not going to have enough commitment.
With the vision.
Yeah, with the vision, right? So I got into starting the lead gen company started with, I want to have a family and I don't want my kids to worry about food ever again or their lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
I got into coaching because veterans came up to me and active duty was like, dude, how are you making money?
Yeah.
I had a master chief, been in for 25 years. He comes up to me in uniform. We're both in uniform at work. And he's like, hey, HM1, that's my rank. It's hospitalman first class. HM1, I'm getting out next month. I've been in for 25 years. I don't want to go sit in a classroom full of 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
Can you teach me what you do?
Yeah.
I was like, sure. I went home and I recorded probably the worst video course you've ever seen. I uploaded a Dropbox and he gave me $900. And the next weekend he got a client paying him $1,000 a month.
Wow. Yeah.
So it happened just that quick. So as soon as I did that for him, he started to tell the other chiefs and other people in the hospital. It was like 6,000 people at this hospital in San Diego. And I had people coming up, hey, Master Chief said you got the goods on the course. Can I send you some money? He's like, yeah. So that course started getting circulated.
Yeah.
And these people started making money. So that's why I got into coaching. And what I realized that more and more people needed my time and attention. They wanted more access.
Yeah.
So then as students got results and made case studies and testimonials with me, a select few of them said, hey, I want to be on your team and coach and give back.
Okay.
So that's how I built my coaching staff, my core staff that teaches everyone my curriculum.
Yeah.
And the whole idea initially was to help veterans active duty transition to entrepreneurs. Yeah. That's why we started.
That's your vision. Yeah, because if you don't have a vision of why you started the thing you're doing, more than just like a generic mission statement.
Yeah.
But like a real vision. Ours has changed the way sales are perceived in society. That is why I started this thing. So that's the vision, like yours, helping these, people in the military and other places, like have this vision of entrepreneurship and acquiring knowledge, right? Because you can't commit to mastering anything unless you have a plan to actually master it. You have to have knowledge from somebody who's already mastered the thing you want to master for you to actually master it.
That's right.
It's if you say, I'm committed to mastery, I want to lose 100 pounds, and you go to the gym without somebody to train you who's actually mastered the thing with nutrition and weightlifting or whatever, you're just going to walk around from machine to machine and kind of dabble and wing it and hope and pray you lose 100 pounds, but there's no plan. Yeah. You have to have the person there to actually do that. So, well done. Where can they go to find out more about what you do, maybe with LeadFi? Because I know a lot of these companies, business owners, even salespeople are going to be interested in that. What can they go to learn more about it?
Yeah, I mean, the website's leadfi.ai. It's lead, LEADFI.ai. Just go there and you could schedule a call, speak to our team. If you want to connect with me on Instagram, it's just type in Douglas James, which could be the first one with the blue check, but the handle is at _Douglas James.
We'll put that in the show notes and everything as well. Anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
I mean, I guess there's a lot you could ask. I could share my favorite quote.
Do it. I love it.
There's a quote by Virginia Satir. You know who that is? It's like,
that sounds familiar.
One of her books probably
some
legendary
art
author.
at home. Yeah.
So there's this quote, and it always sticks with me because I think about it literally every day. It's most people choose the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. So think about this. There's two doors, right? Behind door number one, it's the life as you know it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Same job, same car.
The certainty.
Mm-hmm. Everything that you have in your life right now. But behind door number two, you don't know what's behind there. It could be greener pastures, new job, new career, more money, better opportunities for your family. But because you're you're miserable in that uncertainty of going through that door, you're going to choose the devil that you know.
Yeah.
Right. Door number one. And every billionaire person that I've ever interviewed or talked to, I asked them, hey, what does door number one mean to you versus door number two? Mm. And they say always door number two, they would choose that. I asked Damon John this question. He said, door number one for me was driving a taxi in New York.
To me, that's uncertainty.
Right, exactly. But to him, it was a guaranteed check. And he's like, but I had to live with the fact that I could get stabbed in the neck at any moment.
So he had uncertainty
Yeah.
within the certainty.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
So for him, door number 2 was to actually go to start Fubu and look at him today.
Yeah.
So for myself, in the back of my head, that little voice creeps in, hey, you should quit. Hey, this is a dumb idea. Hey, why don't you stop this strategy or whatever the case is, right? I have to continue to remind myself why I got here and the decision that I made to commit to mastery. You use that word many times already.
Yeah, 100%.
And that actually has been really helpful because most people don't have a framework to reference back to. They just have in their gut, hey, I want to do this amazing thing. Well, why do you want to do the thing? And is the conviction and passion to keep doing it when shit gets tough strong enough to keep persevering?
Yeah.
So
you got to love what you are going to do, because there will be times, especially the first couple years with the trials, the stuff that you just don't know is going to happen, that certainty and conviction of you wanting to accomplish the end will keep you motivated enough to stay through anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
certainly.
Yeah. And that's something that you can learn. Something that you can learn for sure. All right. So make sure you follow Mr. James here. Go to the website, leadfi.ai as well. I'm going to have you talk with Sean about that afterwards. AI is the future. Definitely can help automate a lot of things that you're doing and get you higher qualified leads. Remember to call all your leads, though, because there will be some leads that might not have the credit scores that can still get the funding, but you can prioritize it. All right. Until next time, Mr. James, thanks for being on the next level. See you next show.